Dex, thank you for waiting patiently, sir. The floor is yours. Go ahead.
I want to hear from Miss Paula first. Sorry.
Ms. Paula has already spoken. Dazzling Dow is going to speak next if you want her to go.
Oh, okay. All right, that's fine.
Okay. Dazzling Dow, thank you for waiting patiently, ma'am. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
So you were saying that you can agree to some parts and disagree with other parts and all that stuff. But to be honest, I'm literally like in the middle. And the only reason I'm in the middle of agreeing with what he said and not agreeing with what he said is because at the end of the day, it's all perception. I feel like a lot, even just in general, like with what he shared and what was shared during the interview, like it's based on perception because there are beautiful Black women who fall into, I guess, what you guys are trying to say, like those outlier categories where it's like they're not terrible, they're not doing all this terrible stuff that you guys keep mentioning in these personal statements. But then they also are overlooked because based on again the perception of them being beautiful, they're automatically assumed to be a certain way and so they're treated a certain way. Same thing with other kind of like stereotypes and like, discrimination and stuff like that. It's just, I don't know, when you start to make certain judgments about different groups of people based on like your own perception and you make that on the overall, it obviously is not good. And I feel like sometimes that happens with some of these topics. And I feel like some of the perceptions and things that people have that they stated in their own statements previous to mine are based on, you know, what they know or what they've experienced or what they've heard about or maybe they've seen or whatever. But I think it's important to remember that like you can't put everyone in the same box because there are people who are not um, falling into your categories that you kind of came up with or whatever. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, Dazzling Dow, you understand that the men in the audio, you understand that they weren't talking about um all black women, right? You understand that they were talking about a specific subset of black women. Do you understand that?
Um,
And I
from what
asked
I
because
okay,
a lot of the times when these conversations are had, you know, and I say this respectfully, like when we're dealing with like adults, whether they're older adults or younger adults, I think everyone should have a common understanding that, like, nothing is absolute in life, and we're not talking about all men, and we're not talking about all women, and we're not talking about all black men, and we're not talking about all black women. We're talking about a specific group, a specific subset. Do you understand that he's not talking about all black women?
I understand that you're explaining that, but at the end of the day, like you are unable to speak for specifically what he meant. And so I just think it's a disservice when we get on these platforms and we have such big audiences that people get to say things as if they are absolutes for a whole population versus like the specific, like you're saying, he's talking about the specific subgroup that I'm not talking about. But when it's presented, it's not presented that way. It's kind of more so presented as if it's just an overarching thing that the beautiful, like whoever you, and the thing about it that's crazy is beauty is subjective to the person that is viewing it, right? So it's like what one person finds beautiful, another one might not. So for him to say beautiful black woman, that literally just means every black woman ever, because to somebody at some point, they're going to be portrayed as beautiful. And so to get online and say, oh, beautiful black women think this way, or they're like this because of this, when in fact, it's probably the least population of women who actually do the things that y'all are saying, or not you, but that he was stating. But it wasn't made specific. Like he put an overarching umbrella over it. So yeah.
Okay, so okay, we can move on, and we have an understanding that he's not talking about all black.
Now, yes, we do, but as it was presented when I heard the audio, it did not sound or feel that way from what the statements that were made. I didn't hear him say,
I
"Hey, I'm talking
understand.
about," yeah, I just want to make that clear. Like now that you've explained what his point of view was, I can understand what you're saying. But as it was presented, that was not the way that it came out or was portrayed. So
Right, I understand, but what did he say, or what have you heard people on this panel say that you do adamantly disagree with? I want to hear about that.
I just adamantly disagree with trying to make statements as if they're facts for every person that falls into that category. Like we get on here, we're trying to talk about issues, but it's like we're making more issues by speaking about things like this in this way. Like I don't know. I just it's just the way that it's being discussed is kind of like
Hey,
missing the point.
it's okay, Dazzling. Miss Paula or Zen, or I think they'll give some clarity because I don't want to speak one-sided about this agenda. So I just want to hear some positive Black women's point of view so that I can speak properly on the subject.
Okay. Thank you,
Project some
Daphne. Is there anything
positivity
else?
if Noble lets me. Noble, can I talk for a
Go
minute?
ahead, Miss Paula. Go ahead, go
Okay.
ahead. Then we're
No,
gonna
but
go
I
to
had a
Listen.
question too
Zen.
before she talk, if you don't mind. Before
Go
she
Oh
actually
no,
say
go
what she
ahead.
had to say.
Let him talk. Let him talk.
Oh, I didn't want to talk. I just wanted to say that, this is my normal speaking voice. I'm not emotional. I'm pretty educated. I'm working on my third degree. So I just wanted to let the women know in the comments I'm highly sought after. My inbox is pretty much full. I was just saying what I'm saying because there's a lot of men who can't articulate themselves and you're going to call them angry anyway. But you're not going to talk about looks. You're not going to talk about money. You're not going to talk about anything on my end. If anyone's emotional and mad and hit, dog holler, triggered, it's a lot of you women in the comments, and we can tell. So just wanted to let y'all know.
Okay, go ahead, Miss
Now,
Paula.
let me add something positive to it. Now, when my daughter's dad was 12 years older than me, so I dated older. Coming out of high school, no. My son's dad was my age. Okay. And then I have a middle son as well. Now I have two that have passed. Here's the thing. We were dating people who had something in common with us, and that in my region, in my city, the average person that was my age when I was, at that point then, they were doing things I was unfamiliar with. I was not the hangout person. I was not very social. I wasn't I just wasn't. So the person that was best for me, and I was introduced to him through a friend, the person that was best for me was at that time her dad, my daughter's dad now. And to be honest with you, I don't really know what I can say at this point to contribute to much of the conversation other than sometimes people dated because they didn't have anything in common with the other people their age. It's kind of like when the guys say nobody paid attention to them in high school. Well, there's a lot of us that nobody paid attention to in high school, and then we left high school. But as we got older, we began to know ourselves better, but by that time, again, in my region, it was a lot of people my age that were clubbing, they were having fun, they were establishing careers, and this was men too. But no, I had to, my personality, I had to be with somebody who was set and stable. It wasn't even about the money at that time. It was just set and stable, meaning that he didn't expect me to go out. He didn't expect me to blend in with his friends. He didn't expect me to do any of that. So it was just me and him. And sometimes that's what we do. But I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna drop because I want to hear what Dex and Zen got
I
to say.
wanna ask you. I wanna ask you a question before you leave, Miss Paula.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on age gap dating? Do you see a problem with older men dating younger women? And I also want you to speak on if you believe that there are a lot of women that are your age, and even in their early 40s all the way to your age, that do have resentment towards men that are their age and younger women, because the men that they desire that are their age do not want to deal with them. I want you to honestly speak on those things.
Yes, there are plenty of women like that. But let me state this right now. A lot of those women don't even hang with the other women. Let's be real clear about that. You're talking about angry women. They don't save it just for you. They don't just save it for the people they date with. These are just angry people. And my thing would be don't listen to the people you don't respect. If you don't respect them, you're not dating them, let them be angry. They just got to be angry. They chose what they chose. Everybody is not going to be at the same status in life. Everybody's not going to be at the same thing. And that's them. But I'm just letting you guys know they don't save it for just them. A lot of women can't even socialize with those women. Okay. So it's not all of them. It's not, I don't even think it's the majority at this point. Because when you get to a certain age, you're looking for a certain something. And the ones that are usually bitter and angry, those aren't the ones that's telling you whether the relationship was bad. No, these are the ones that are just bitter and angry. Okay? So don't take it personal when you hear it, is what I'm trying to say, young men. Because I know it sounds offensive, but you also have to listen to the nature of what they're saying. If you have women that are having problems with men generally outside of dating, that's one thing. But if you have women that's having problems specifically with dating, then they're the common denominator most of the time. And they already know it. They
Right.
already know it. Okay. All right.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And no, that's it. I just want y'all to keep that in mind when y'all talking to them, because everybody's not old and bitter. Some people, like I said, he was older. He was 12 years older than me. He passed. So a lot of us are just out here kind of free falling because they have a lot of angry dudes out here right now, just like they got angry women,
No, that's a
just like they
fact.
have
They have
angry
angry men
women.
as well.
So
No, that's a
some of
fact.
us, it's kind of scary. So everybody's not just out here just, I want the bag and all this other stuff. That's not everything. Okay,
Right,
that's it.
but Ms. Paula, I want to know, like, even if it's one or if it's multiple root causes, where do you think that what do you think or what do you think the things are that are the origin or the origins of the bitterness that these women exhibit, to the point where they come on public platforms every day and talk about decentering men, and they have all these negative things to say about men because the men that they desire don't want them anymore. Like, what exactly, or what things, like, what are the origins that you think that this is coming from?
When life is not what you expected, people tend to be disappointed. A lot of times people will look to outside things. That's going to be men and women. A lot of times they'll look to outside things. But when you're listening to the women talk about that, because I know there are platforms I go on, but generally I stick with platforms that are talking about an overall issue and not just something very specific like dating.
Right.
And a lot of it is women frustrated because we are affected by men, whether we date you or not. See, there are men who can go through life, not date a woman, and be less affected by angry women, unless it was their mama or their aunt or something like that. But women, we can go through life, never date a man, and be highly impacted by angry men. And some of us, we don't like it, but some of us we're tired of it. Some of us we are dismayed. And those particular men that cause those other issues, they tend to hide behind good men. They hide behind good men and good men's deeds. And then they try to prop it up like people are saying it's all men, when no, we are specifically saying things like going outside. Y'all hear me talk about that a lot on platforms. Just being outside, just being yourself outside, or just trying to do things and commutes. It's a lot of strange things that happen. And some of us are just angry about that part. But we're not the ones that generally are saying, all the men I dated. No, nobody's perfect. I could cite a whole bunch of horrible stories from what I went through. But no, nobody's perfect. And most of the time we're not the ones saying what happened strictly in relationships. It's a compilation of what we've experienced from people outside of dating, outside of marriage. And those are the things that a lot of us are focusing on. But people with platforms, they have to do their platform thing, but they incorporate into their platform the overall general consensus. And sometimes you're wrapped up with that. Because if a man sees your face enough and hears something negative from a platform, he's going to associate your face with what the other people are saying, bottom line. But at the same time, we don't congregate together like men think. We don't all just get together with the one idea like men think. So there are a lot of things that I hear men say that actually are not said in platforms where I go, because I don't believe in everything, and I don't believe in just upholding a whole bunch of stuff. Various topics, yes, but some of the things I think that you guys go into, that's not on my FYP. And the other part would be this: the things that you guys have, because I've had older men actually tell me about complaints because they're trying to date younger women. And the things that they tell me, I have to remind them, if you go looking for this, this is what you might get. I believe what Dr. Umar said. I just think that it is not something that applies to most. And at the same time, the ones, the bulk of the women, they get looked over. They get looked over. And I expect angry people, angry with their lives, to be angry. Just like I expect sick people that are angry to be angry. Just like I expect people from the pandemic that lost businesses or what, I expect them to be angry. And they're going to be angry with people around them. Okay?
Okay. Hold on, Corey. Hold on. Humble Jerk wanted to ask her a question. Then I'll let you address her, and then we'll have Zen Barbie speak. Go ahead, Humble Jerk.
Yeah, hello. I don't believe that women operate in spaces where they allow men to be negative. I think it's usually the women who've been passed over, or men have used them, and those men have ruined those women. And a lot of men don't want those type of women anyway. So of course they're on this platform talking negative every day. I get that. But my issue is, you hear women talk negative about black men in general. We don't make money. They out earn us, and they fail to say that they out earn the men they sleep with. They out earn the men they have babies by, because they're not out earning the man they actually want. They're not out earning the man who they want to pay attention to them. So my question is, why do these women know who Kevin Samuels is? They can tell you all of what he said, but yet when we asked them about Cynthia G, a woman that said unaliving black male babies would solve the problems in our communities, they don't know who Cynthia G is. They don't never know who she is. They don't have no answers.
I'm going to tell you why.
Women,
I'm going to tell you
know
why.
exactly what Kevin Samuels said, because it cut them deep and they never understood. So I just want you to speak to that.
Let me speak to that. I knew who Kevin Samuels was, not because he cut deep, but because at that time I came across a clip on Facebook and I actually went to go sit in some of his lives. Not on the board, not that thing he did at the end, not that, but just sit to hear what he said. And there were points that I agreed with. But here's the problem. I wasn't sitting in Cynthia G's stuff either. I didn't know about Cynthia G because I was not an avid YouTuber. And I didn't hear about Cynthia G until I heard the complaints. Then I went to look and see what was said and to see the context in which it was said. And I did not agree with aborting black babies, male specifically. To me, that sounds like eugenics. Okay? So, no, I would not have known about Cynthia G had I actually not been on TikTok at the time. But I did know Kevin Samuels before I came on TikTok. So when women are building platforms and they're saying that the platform, and I'm going to tell you right now, the platforms I've been in, those women have specifically denounced aborting black male babies as if that's going to be some kind of eugenic thing we're doing. What I have heard is people questioning, why do you keep having kids that hate you, or kids that later on statistically will do something? That's a different convo, but that's still, to me, based in eugenics. And a lot of women do not deal with that at all. And a lot of women do not put their money, coins, or time towards people speaking eugenics. Okay? So there's going to be women that didn't hear nothing from Cynthia G because it never came across unless they heard it on TikTok. I'd only been on TikTok for maybe a couple of months when that thing broke like it did. And I honestly didn't know who Cynthia G was because I don't listen to Cynthia G. I never had there was no reason for her to come across anything I was doing. No, I'm sitting up here. My daughter's dad passed away 3 years ago, so I had other things going on completely. But Cynthia G, after hearing that, that's not something that I really would have devoted a lot of my time to. I'm here on TikTok more than I was on YouTube at this point. Even though I was sitting through some of those marathon lives with Kevin, because I really thought that was fascinating too, because I didn't know about lives at all on TikTok. I mean, not on YouTube either, because I really wasn't watching them. But from the Facebook clip, I went, and that's when I started sitting in them. So some of us, we're not going to know all of that. Some of us, we don't hang in the circles that are that angry to go that route. And we're also not hanging in circles with people that are bouncing those types of ideals off of people's head to perpetuate the platform. Some of this stuff is just people farm raging outrage for platforms. And again, a lot of us, if you're not out there in it, you don't know it. But you do know what experiences that you had. And you do hear similar experience from other women that you've never spoke to before. And that's when you start to look at a collective and say to yourself, well, what exactly is going on? What exactly has happened? Now, for myself, what I do know is this. The pandemic really messed with a lot of people. The shutdowns messed with a lot of people that ordinarily would not be on edge right now. And a lot of people lost people just like I did. So it's going to be a bunch of people that are going to act negatively outside of their normal behavior patterns, but it may be something inside of them that is causing them to lash out at other people. Now, here's another point, though. I am finding out, much like my mom was abusive, whole bunch of y'all moms was abusive. And a lot of y'all, your mama, you don't even feel like your mama liked y'all. So guess what? When you see another black woman, unfortunately, a lot of times that might transfer there. If you had mamas and aunts that was doing you in, then yeah, when you look at other, you might just be the one saying, "Oh no, these black women are something." You're gonna have a visceral reaction just at somebody who reminds you of those people. Now, keep that in mind. That happens to women as well. If we have enough experiences outside of dating, within family, within the community, simple stuff like going to a store, and you have some really key things that continue to happen throughout your lifespan, you start to, in the back of your mind, associate that particular person or that particular type of person or look. And that's where the prejudices and biases come in. That particular look then begins to trigger panic in you for a lot of people. The panic can either come out as fear or it could come out as rage. And you have to figure out how to control that. And you have to get down to it and see what exactly is causing that anxiety. Because anxiety will also cause you to react different with people. So you got black men that's probably going around women and don't understand why they are having anxieties, why they are feeling this visceral anger. And it might be just because they have women in their family that messed over them. Because I refuse to believe that it is all based on dating in high school. I refuse to believe it's all based on some marriage later on. Certain things, yes. But the bulk of what I'm seeing, no. The bulk of what I'm seeing, I think, comes from people that are used to being abused, used to being stuck in trauma, and they're stuck there right now. Because how do you get rid of it? How do you get over it? A lot of people can't do it. That's why you have a lot of people that's drinking and smoking and everything else. They're trying to numb something that they don't even know is there. Because if you think it's normal to have your family members tearing you down, male or female, then guess what? When you get in the real world, you're just going to say, oh, that's the world. That's how the world goes. And what do? You're not going to look for help if you think this is normal. I actually ran into somebody who actually mentioned, because I always, not always, but in my city, I hear a lot of oh, well, when I was young, I used to be in the street. Ha, ha, ha. Well, I would date street dudes because I'm scared of getting hurt. I'm too scared for street dudes. I always was. But now that there are some that are older and they've established businesses, and they'll mention that. But what I noticed one said was his friends that he lost to violence. And he said it like it was normal. And when I asked him something specific about it, because I recently lost my nephew, he'd also lost his son. Okay, he lost his son to something as well. I recently lost my nephew. To him, it was normal. To him, it was something he didn't have to go get counseling for because it was normal. To him, losing 3 and 4 friends in violent ways growing up, that was normal. So he didn't think he needed help with it. And trust me, he needed help with it. So I'm going to land the plane on that because I don't want to drone on too much.
Okay.
Y'all go
Thank you,
ahead.
Miss Paula.
Thank you,
I
Noble.
appreciate you.
Thank you, baby.
Yeah, no problem. Corey, did you want to say something really quick? And then I am going to play the audio and we're going to have Zen Barbie speak.
Okay, what I want to say real quick, because I really kind of wanted to address Yasmin when she was up there. She
Uh-huh.
basically stated off the look situation. Older men will date younger women based off of look. Younger women will date older men based off of finance and the conditions. This is the thing about that. If you listen to that audio, he was speaking to people in college, people who have a part of the hookup culture. In college, what I learned about college, if you go to college, they fornicating off the chain up there. I have heard stories of people walking into dorm rooms, hearing people getting clapped down the hall from people who have went to colleges and universities. So he was speaking to those people who really don't care. Now you got to understand this about this. If a man takes you based off your looks, when you don't bring nothing else to the table, you don't have nothing to offer because he took you at a young age and you ain't seasoned and well enough to do anything. Once you hit a certain age and your skills and all that haven't developed, you don't know how to make that house a home, he will trade you in for something new that's more in line to what he wants. Something that's younger, prettier, and better. So all is that these women who I've been to college, I got 4, 5 degrees, I'm educated, this and that, I don't want no man. They speaking to you, being bitter, because we don't see the poo